What is up everyone, welcome back to another Gunpla review, and today I've got something very special right here, and of course that's the real grade Sinanju. If you haven't yet seen my unboxing and you want to check that out, then click right here on this card or check down there in the description. I have been really looking forward to this one's release since it was announced, but the question that's always been on my mind is, can the real grade frame, which has a history of being a little bit weak, a little bit floppy, handle this much mobile suit? Well, the quick answer is sort of. Let's check it out. So this right here is what Sinanju looks like right out of the box and just snapped together. There's a couple of the foil seals on there, but that is it. And there is no denying that as an out-of-box build, there is no better looking version of Sinanju. This is the one. Aesthetically, this thing is absolutely fantastic. Straight away, what catches your eyes is that absolutely gorgeous gloss red and that killer gold. Besides those two obvious colors, we've also got some yellow on there, light gray, dark grey, a kind of greenish grey on the weaponry, white on the fuel tanks as well as the trim on the boosters, this pearlescent metallic silverish grey, as well as a very nice almost matte black that really sets off the gold and the gloss red, and a slight bit of clear green on the mono eye in there. However, I will mention there are some negative things about those awesome colors. For one, the gloss red marks so easily, and some of the nubs are in really obnoxious places. You're going to have to take a lot of care not to damage this, and even at that, it's ridiculously hard not to. As for the gold, a lot of it is undergated, but again, you're going to get a lot of those little nub marks you just can't do anything with. If you try to pare them down or file them down, it will look even worse as it will strip away the nice coating. So really, this gold looks great, but it is a double-edged sword. From a distance though, you'd notice none of these problems. The aesthetics are made just that much better by the amount of small, minute detail all over this thing. You really have to see this in person to truly appreciate this. Moving parts, tiny details everywhere. The Sinanju's looks really are its best aspect. Of course, included in here is this huge sheet of real grade decals. As you can see, I've only used some of the foil ones. These are the only ones I tend to like using, but if you really want, these white ones will really nicely set off all that red. Personally, I don't like to use the sticker type because they tend to pick up dirt after a while, or just flake off, but if you put them on, I'm sure it will look fantastic. So there's the Sinanju with everything that it comes with, and it comes with quite a bit, but it is lacking the bazooka, sadly. So let's take a look at everything in here one at a time. First off, we've got the rifle, and pretty much this is essentially what you've seen with the Master Grade already. This part can open up here for the grenade launcher and the bazooka. The scope here has a foil in there as well as in there, and this part can move in and out, and that is a bit flimsy. As you can see, that already fell off, as it kind of only really holds in there like that. I have glued the majority of this that doesn't move, so this is the one part I feel that I'm really gonna lose. This here is not gonna come off, but this one feels like that one's gonna go missing. Anyway, of course, we've got the grenade launcher as well that can open in the middle there, but of course that's for sticking in here like that. Close that up, and there is the rifle with the grenade launcher attached. Of course, in here we have a couple of beam sabers. As always, the beam can be detached like that. They can also be attached into the forearm. This section here on the back of the arm can move out like that. There's a beam saber section in there, and that can attach in there for beams coming from the arms, and that looks so damn cool. As for the beam axes, we got two of those to extend those. That just pulls off and attaches in there like so. We've got these shorter ones like this that will pretty much look like that when you attach it on, and we have the big, massive, really cool looking ones here. I'll actually attach that one on so you can see. That's that one like that, and of course that can be attached to the shield, and I'll show you that when I'm looking at the shield. We also have an absolutely tiny full frontal. Zoom in there and you can see it's actually quite detailed for something that is pretty much less than a centimeter tall. Again, if you plan on painting this, good luck. Next up then is the shield. There's the front, there's the back. Not a whole lot to look at on the back. We've got two attachment parts. This one attaches it onto the arm like normal. This one, however, will attach it onto the shoulder right in this little hole here. So let's try and attach that in. It's kind of hard considering you kind of do it like that, so it can pretty much attach in there. The shoulder will be attached up here, but this feels really loose and it never quite stays where you want it to. However, you can just attach it onto the back of the arm like so, and that is a little more secure, but not that much. That's probably my biggest complaint with this kit. A lot of things are just a little bit rickety, a little bit loose. Of course, with the shield, the beam axis can be attached in there. Pop that on there. Pop the other one on there. Flip them around like so, then bring them down. Attach on those longer beam effects, and you end up with this, which looks seriously awesome. As well as being able to connect it to the rifle, you can also connect the grenade launcher in here onto the shield. In here somewhere like that. Whoops, those parts fell off. But yeah, it can connect on in there like so. As for hands, we're moving into the first disappointing aspect of the Sinanju. We've only got these standard holding hands here, as well as this left widespread open hand here. Bandai have, however, included a red back for the standard real grade hands, but these things look ridiculous. I mean, just look at that side by side with the pre-posed hand. It's not even the right color, it's not the right shape, the back isn't even similar. I don't know why they even bothered to include this at all. It looks terrible. And what about those real grade fists, you ask? Well, they're included as well, but there is no back for those, so that means the Sinanju has no pre-posed fists, which is a letdown. No fists, no bazooka, that is a little bit crappy. So now let's move on to the gimmicks and articulation and an overall run around of the whole suit. First off, I'll say is this is quite floppy around the waist. Like really floppy. With this big heavy backpack and everything, it does have an ab crunch, a really odd kind of ab crunch, but again, it just doesn't have the strength to hold it, and the overall joint in the middle is awful. It's the polar opposite to the Master Grade's middle joint. I snapped the Master Grade Sinanju's waist joint twice. Not just one of them, two of them, because they're just so tight and wonky. I have the Stein, and that was completely perfect, but this right here is the polar opposite. It's just like a marionette from the top half up. That's pretty much it. It's just so springy. I've glued nearly everything on this but the moving parts, and I really think this thing would be an absolute headache if I hadn't. Okay, so let's work our way down from the top. The head, when it stays attached, because this thing will fall off all the time. It's such a terrible joint. But when it is attached, you've got down, up, side to off, pretty much off all the time. There's side to side, but it is really loose. We do have a cockpit here. We've got this moving part that'll move up like that. This section as well will move up and out. And then this section down here will move down out of the way. So pretty much something like that. There is no pilot figure as usual with a real grade, but it's pretty cool that that's included anyway. This thing is incredibly finicky, so I'm just going to take it apart to show the articulation. We've got some motion in the shoulder up here, so that's pretty cool. We've got this part right here which moves it up and down when it's attached. I will show that after I go through all of this. This part here opens up like that, which is a very nice feature, and there's some nice foil seals inside of that, and this section moves down in there as well to show that nice metallic silver plastic. Next, onto the rest of the arm, we've a moving section up here, as well as all of this together. Rotation here at this point. There is the bend at the elbow, and as you can see, this part moves out, so we've got a nice moving gimmick there. So one more time, there's it all the way in. So one more time showing that when it bends to this point, that whole section moves out like that, and there it moves back in. Also, like I showed you already, this whole section here comes out like so, and that is pretty cool. So one more time, there is the arm all the way up. It can rotate around like that. Things are quite loose on here, as you can see, but pretty much you'll get exactly what you want out of that. As for the waist, when you're assembling this, you'll see a really nice joint inside of that, but it seems to do absolutely nothing. There's to the front, there is to the back, and that is really nice. We don't really have, we have a bit of side to side as well, but once you attach the backpack, that's worthless. So now moving down to the lower section, and we've got the skirting armor here, which can move up and down. It is a little bit limited feeling right there. This one up, down like that. We've got some back and forward as well. Flip him around to the back, and these little individual sections in here can move ever so slightly, but they can move, which is really cool. Of course, with that section back here, which flips out like that for attaching the rifle, and these can flip up like so. I didn't say earlier on, but it looks almost looks like there's two shades of red on here, this one and that one. Sometimes it looks like there is, sometimes then it doesn't look like there is at all. Kind of confusing. They're either the same or they're not, I'm not sure. As for the leg, there it is kicking up all the way to the front, so that's not too bad. All the way to the back, a little bit limited by that, not so much. It's kind of detached there from the front. Stick that back on. And then there is the leg all the way out to the side, so the articulation on the waist unit is fantastic, as you can see. Of course, we also have a rotation at that point. There is the bend at the knee. As you can see, that part fell off. This is one of the parts I couldn't really glue because of the coating on it. So I would say a lot more would probably fall off if I hadn't glued it, but again, this is quite a rickety real grade. Moving down a bit further, like I showed you before, we've got these two parts which move out like that. But not just that, this whole section can pull out. Never mind, let's try that on the other side. That can pull out like that. As you can see, there is the hinge part, which connects on there. You can see some of those foil seals you stick on in there, and the boosters, which can move around slightly. Attach that back on, so that can move out like that. You can also rotate, so you can point whatever direction you like, which is really cool. Again, that's it open. Around here on the back, we've got this opening part with a thruster. Another opening part here. This section here at the front can pull out like so. There's another part falling off. And this part is slightly articulated. Almost pointlessly, but it is really nice. So down to the foot, and that can extend down like that. So can this section of the toe. So there's a lot going on here. That's kind of the case with this model kit in general. There is just so much going on. That can move up. That just fell off. But anyway, the foot can move up as well as down. We've got some rotation, but it is blocked by the armor. And we forward and back ever so slightly. And some side to side, but that is very, very stiff. Lastly, and I almost forgot about them, is the thrusters. So the fuel tanks, they're just a ball joint there, so you can see they swivel around like that. As for this section then, this part can move up, this part can move down. These can separate out like that. Then you can extend these out ever so slightly. This one always tends to fall off on me, but I think that's the point it should catch at. Same on the other side, these open up like that. That one always falls off, just like I said, and there is that one. So there's a lot going on back here as well. I think that is it. So the final word on the articulation, it is absolutely fantastic. It is so awesome, but it is rife with problems. There's just so much going on, so much small minute detail, so many moving parts, and it's all attached to that real grade frame, which is just too flimsy to maintain it. The waist has to be the worst. It just keeps flopping around. Try to move him forward, he flops back. The head falls off. The knee falls off. I've glued the majority of parts, but they're still falling off. Shoulder always detaching like that. It already feels like it is loosened up. It's just, there's just too much going on here for what the real grade can take. Like, it always feels so loose, and just posing it is an absolute headache. Things just pop off everywhere. I haven't glued these parts because they move, and you would be restricting all the articulation and stuff, but man, it really feels like you'd almost want to just glue this thing in a pose. It looks fantastic, but it just isn't any fun to play around with whatsoever. It's a real headache. Also, a lot of the joints are completely useless. Just look at that. Arms floppy, upper body's floppy, head's floppy. It's all floppy. So that is it for my real grade Sinanju review, and what can I say, this is a real mixed bag. Is it the best real grade ever? I really hoped it would be, but it definitely is not. Is it the best version of Sinanju ever? That's completely debatable. Straight built, by far, there is no better looking model of Sinanju at all anywhere. This is the one. But the problem is, all its best aspects are aesthetic. Structurally, it's just all over the place. I'm glad I glued the parts that I did, but the parts that I didn't keep falling off. It's so rickety and it's got so much going on that it's so hard to pose. And it gets very frustrating really quickly. It was an absolute chore to review, to be honest. So as for the final word, would I recommend it? Well, I have to say this is probably the best looking real grade to date. It looks fantastic. However, structurally it's a complete mess. It's got so much going on, it just falls apart all the time. It's very impressive, but I feel like the frame is the basis for all of its woes. If you were to choose between this and the Master Grade, if you have the painting chops to make the Master Grade look awesome, go for that one 100%. If you're a straight builder, I'd say go for this one because stickers look crappy on the Master Grade. So in the end, that question I asked at the beginning, is this too much mobile suit for the real grade frame? 100% definitely. It's really quite the disappointment. I would really only recommend picking this up if you think it looks really cool, because that's the only thing that's really good about it. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews. See you next time. Fuck's sake. Next, as for the leg, there it is kicking all the way up to the never mind. That can then move all the way. Oh, for fuck's sake. Fuck you.